Coming up, we dive back into the inbox, and today we actually talk tech.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey guys, welcome along to Friday's Double Tap. How you doing, Shaun Priest?
I don't believe it. I don't believe we're going to talk tech. Prove it, Stephen Scott. I'm doing well, thank you.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Do you know what? Let's just dive right in. Let's dive in.
Email, straight an email.
Yep.
We get your email every day.
Ding dong.
Here's your mail today.
There.
Oh, that was an extra special version
For the
of
weekend.
A weekend special. Wow, that's the.
Okay.
Do you know that? That's when you know you've got to an age when that's the treat in your day.
Oh, I'm tired. Okay.
You're still tired. You're always tired these days.
Everyone keeps saying that. I think it's a trick to get rid of me. You sound tired.
It's because you keep saying I'm tired.
I
So
am
we
actually
generally, from that, read that you might be tired.
I am tired, yes. I'm getting old, as we all know.
Sit back, Shaun. Tell me your story. What's going on?
No. Let's just... No, please, don't. I'll start crying. Let's just get into the inbox.
Oh, yeah, please. Let's not have that. There's enough tears before and after this program. I don't want them during it as well. Right, let's dive right in. And first up, it's Andy.
Hi, I was just listening to the episode you did for the 31st of March, and apparently the volume controls for Android, I'm not sure exactly if that is a new feature or not, because I've been using that for quite a long time on my Pixel 5. Anyway, that phone I only use just for accessibility testing, and was hearing you mention this and figured I should let you know my experience. All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, I said Andy. I meant Randy. Sorry, Randy. Andy, not Randy. Randy, not Andy.
Someone's
Goodness
tired.
me.
Thank you very much,
Don't
Randy.
go on about it.
That amazing tip. This is, of course, I'm just passing over that.
Thank you.
Referring to your amazing tip that if you hold one finger on the screen and then use the volume keys, it adjusts the talkback volume rather than the media volume or anything
I had
else.
no idea.
And apparently it's been there for absolute years, as Randy just pointed out, and as many others did as well.
And the reason I found out about this was because when I got the Samsung S25 and I was doing the setup, I decided to go through the tutorial, which is, again, very unusual for me. And I was learning about all these cool gestures, and that was one that came up. And I thought, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'll be honest. I
had
didn't
no
know
idea.
that was there.
No idea it was a thing. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's been there for a long time. I'm glad people know about it now. Because at first it was actually quite tricky to isolate that particular slider, because when you press down on the volume buttons, you can get actually a range of different choices. You can have media, you can have system, you can have
It's actually really
accessibility. Oh yeah, and you've got complete control over all of it, which I like. Again, another reason why I'm loving Android. Google, if you're listening, would love to test out the old Pixel 9a if you've got one, or a 9 Pro, or a 9 anything.
The 10's just around the corner.
Anything. Yeah, I honestly, at this stage, I'll take anything. I'll even take my old 8 Pro back from you at this rate.
I'm loving it. I'm sorry, you're not getting it back. Did you know, talking of gestures that everybody else knows that I have no idea about, a 2-finger triple tap and hold is the mute for TalkBack? I did not know that.
2-finger triple tap and hold. Hang on, what? 2-finger triple tap and hold?
I'm probably getting that absolutely wrong. Feedback at doubletaponair.com.
Did you get that from Copilot or from ChatGPT? It sounds like something it would...
No. It told me. And I tried it out. And yeah, absolutely. It's the same as a 3-finger double tap on the iPhone. It mutes it, because I was just holding down the volume buttons to turn off TalkBack. But obviously that's not always great, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's so much customization you can do inside the Android phone as well. So you can change these gestures. The one thing I honestly miss split tap. I think I've got so used to using it on the iPhone. I cannot believe it's on a Fire tablet. That just blows me away that it can be on there, but not on an Android, regular Android phone. But that's one thing I wish they would bring in. If anyone from Google is listening, I'd love that feature, please, because you've got it on the keyboard. That's the thing. And it was interesting. I was typing in my passcode the other day, and that's how I often do the passcode. I'll get to a number and then tap elsewhere. So I'll hold on the number I want and then use another finger to tap on the screen. That works on Android as well. So that works. Basically, text and number entry, it works on, but it doesn't work in the general OS, which I find really strange. I mean, if it works, why can't you just extend it across the entire system? And you obviously can, because Amazon have done it.
No, you can't have it. There's that. I've got to say, I'm still struggling with that. At the end of the pin entry, right? You unlock your phone one time and it works flawlessly. You do it the next, and sometimes you got to run your finger over a number a couple of times before it reads it out.
Yeah,
and I do find that quite a lot on a lot of places on this. I thought it was just on the particular phone I was using at the time, the 5, but same on this one as well.
I think it's with Android, and it's the same with using anything new that you've maybe not been used to. You have to really slow down a bit. You got to slow down a bit and just kind of take your time to get used to it, because it is different and it will react in a different way. And again, it depends on the device. I find different devices behave, better, worse in some areas, better in other areas, even across the Android ecosystem as well of different devices. So it's not guaranteed that the best is going to give you the best experience. I mean, I go back to John Dyer's comment when he was on the show, and he was talking about the fact that, in his experience, even the top-end phones don't give you a great experience with TalkBack. That's not an Android issue; it's a TalkBack issue, right? And something clearly needs to be going on there.
Yeah, not. I don't think he said it doesn't give you a great experience, but it's just they can be a little bit unresponsive at times as well. Yeah,
just means it's not a great experience.
All right, okay. I'm just trying to save your blushes. That's all. I don't think John said that particular.
Well, honestly, who cares? Because look, the Android people hate me anyway. I mean, I'm glowing about the thing, and they'll still hate me. They're still not speaking to me.
Have you picked up that G54 yet?
I haven't actually, but that is my plan this weekend, because I want to get it updated. I want to see. I'm not going to get 16 on there. I know that it takes a while for these phones, if it will even get Android 16. I don't know.
Due out in June, isn't it? Android 16?
Yes. So we're a little bit away from that, but it will get TalkBack 16 because, and the only reason I know that is because the Pixel 5 that you gave me back got TalkBack 16, which blew my mind when I went into the Play Store and it had the option to update. I thought, wow. So
we want VoiceOver in the App Store, is what you're saying?
For Android?
No, for the iPhone.
Oh, I see. Yes, I was going to say I wouldn't inflict that on the poor Android people. No, can you imagine that? Apple just decided to build VoiceOver on Android.
Well, I mean, the advantages of that, separating them out, is that you can bug fix, update, aside from updating the whole OS.
And the cool thing and this is a really smart thing Android have done here with TalkBack, is that the Gemini functionality, so using Gemini to create those image descriptions in the follow-up mode, if you've got a more powerful phone, you can do it all on device. If your phone can't handle that, it will use the cloud. And I think that's really smart. It's like they've kind of really built it in a way that means that no one has to lose out. Everyone can experience it. It just experiences it a slightly different way. And when we spoke to Lissy Lilienfeld back on the show, back whenever that was, we spoke, I think, last year. We spoke to Lissy about, and she's from Google, of course. She works in the accessibility team at Google. And she was talking about the fact that, actually you would think that on-device would be faster, but actually the cloud response is even faster. So even on an older device, you're going to get just as good or at least comparable results to a high-end phone. So, it kind of goes against the grain to say you need the latest and greatest. Actually, maybe you don't need to worry so much about that. That depends, of course, on the bigger experience of how responsive the phone is. You can't go super cheap with Android if you want a decent TalkBack experience. I mean, there's decent and there's great and all that, but, you want a baseline level. And that's why I think looking at the Motorola range, those kind of
$200. Think that provides it?
Well, I do. I think $200-300 price point is a good way to aim. You don't have. I wouldn't go too cheap, and I'd avoid. There's certain brands. There's a load of brands I've never heard of when it comes to Android, and you hear this Android phone costs $50, and you think, okay,
yeah,
I don't know.
You're running a TalkBack, a screen reader on the top layer of that, and
look, we all remember Windows Netbooks. I remember Chromebooks at the beginning.
Just where I was going to go. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
$99 I spent on a Chromebook, thinking I had got the deal of the decade, and instead I got a pig in a poke. Quite frankly, that's a Scottish phrase, by the way, and it basically is exactly that: a pig in a bag. I don't know why you would want a pig in a bag, and I don't know what the downside is. But
excuse me, is poke a bag in Scottish?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was a poke as in poking with a finger.
No, see, for example, if you were having a poke of chips, you'd be having a bag of chips.
So the card game poker is bagger?
No.
Okay, good. That's good. Well done.
Every day's a learning experience here at Double Tap. Your emails. Here's Shazhad.
Hi, Stephen, Shaun, around the Double Tap family. I would like to ask a question, which I hope both of you can answer. Which is the best video doorbell to get for a first-time blind user? Because I feel that original doorbell, you don't know who's coming and going. Whereas a video doorbell, you know who's coming and going. So I would like to know whether to buy the Ring or the Blink, because I would like to know which of those two is more accessible but also more affordable, because I don't want to pay a subscription fee as Ring do. Once again, I enjoy the show, and I hope that Shaun feels much better, because I feel that he's not getting enough sleep. So I hope he gets well soon. Love the show as always. Keep up the good work. This is Shazhad Bukhari from Birmingham. Bye.
Thanks, Shazhad. See, even Shazad's noticing it. Everyone's noticing you're tired.
It's true. What time did we have a conversation? Was it last night or the night before? I believe it was 2:30 a.m.
2 in the morning, yeah.
Yeah. I'm on a weird sleep pattern, yes. Thank you very much for that, though. I can answer this easily. It's the Blink. The Blink is more accessible than the Ring app, absolutely, and more affordable, absolutely. Now, if that's all you're looking for, the answer is clear. It is the Blink. I would say even the cameras. I've got the security cameras. They're so easy to set up. But also the video doorbell as well. But it's the features you're missing out on. Some of the later Ring doorbells, I believe, have, face detection, parcel detection. The Google video doorbell has those features, the more AI features. So it will actually announce so-and-so is at the door because it can recognize their facial features. So there's that aspect to it. With Blink, you don't get any of that. You get a motion detection, which works great, when someone walks up to it. The chime comes through your smart speakers. There isn't a separate chime, so it'll either just ring on your app on your phone, or if you've got Amazon smart speakers, they will ring. So aside from those limitations, I think it's great.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, and it's funny because I think you mentioned there, Shazhad, Blink and Ring, and I think that's because we've kind of been conditioned where we live here in the UK, at least, to know those brands. But of course, there are other brands out there that have got options. The problem is that they're not particularly well tested in our world. So I haven't heard, for example, from many people talking about Eufy, EUFY. Now, the reason people go down that road is because that particular brand is very good with Apple HomeKit as well. So you can connect it with Siri. If you had an Apple TV, for example, you could access your doorbell from that. Ring doesn't have that functionality yet. They say they will bring it in. I don't think Blink does either. So really that ecosystem is with the Amazon Echoes. Amazon own the companies, Ring and Blink. Ring used to be, and it was a startup, and then Amazon bought it. And then Blink, I think, was an Amazon brand, or maybe because Amazon have a lot of these sort of sub-brands.
They do.
And Blink was one of them. I actually thought they would have combined Blink and Ring. Blink and Rink. Blink and Rink.
It makes...
yeah, maybe they should.
That's why they
very
didn't.
confused. Rink, the new doorbell.
It makes no sense why they should have them other than different price points, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blink is seen as the more affordable, more value. Ring is maybe seen as the more higher end. I don't know if that's true, though. I don't know. But accessibility-wise, I would say that you're better off with Blink. The only thing is the facial recognition stuff. I don't think any of them have got it perfect yet. I remember the Google Nest had it, and I was quite jealous of the fact that the Nest doorbell had that, because that does sound quite cool. Like someone comes to the door, you know who it is. If you have regular people coming, that's quite comforting to know that that's who it is at the door, if it's your mum or it's your son or whoever, right? Yeah. And that's cool. But a lot of them don't have that. You're right that the Ring does have parcel detection in it. I also found a feature in mine because I got the Ring doorbell. We got it wired into the house rather than just with the battery, I was getting fed up constantly changing the battery on it. And I thought, and especially during winter, the battery dies so quickly. And so I thought the best thing to do is just get it wired in. We were getting some work done to the house. So I got one put in the front and one put in the garden as well. And it's one of those ones that has the lights and it's got like a floodlight thing on it.
The security light.
Security light one. Yeah, and it's got the light's incredible actually, very bright light off it, and it's got a siren feature as well. So if you want to scare off, in my case, it's usually rabbits or foxes. It's not humans, but you can scare them off with the siren, which is kind of cool. But
that's how Stephen spends his weekend.
Terrifying
scaring
animals.
Foxes.
Yeah, get in my garden. I mean, look, there's a lot of cool stuff, but it's not got. I don't know. I mean, I think they're good. But as you say, the apps. I haven't tried the Blink one. I know I've tried yours, and I thought it was quite good. But the Ring app, it's accessible-ish.
It's never going to improve. I'm going to say that because I've been waiting years.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's improving.
It never did. So you can get by in it, but it's just not a nice experience. I will also say when it comes to subscription as well, with Blink, if you get because you need a hub which all the cameras and doorbell connect to, that's something you plug in your house, like a router, everything connects to the hub. If you get the Blink Hub 2, make sure it's the 2, it's got a USB port on it that you can connect a pen drive or a hard drive to and record all your footage to there. So you don't need a subscription in order to see who was at my house at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's good.
So you can do it that way. I must say, I haven't used that. I don't know. I have subscribed. But it is an option. I just don't know from an accessibility point of view how accessible that is.
That's interesting. I don't know if the Ring has that option.
I don't think so. No.
You got to pay for the Ring plan or whatever it's called. Because I didn't pay for it. I was on a trial or whatever it was. I thought I was paying for it, but apparently not. And then it came to the end, and it was the one day when I really wanted to check that someone had come to the house. And when I went into my recordings, there was nothing there.
It's funny, right? I just thought, well, of course. When I got into this smart camera thing, I thought, well, it's just recording. I could just go back. There was motion detected at 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, who was that? You can't go back and check if you're not subscribed. You can only look at what it's seen live at the time.
That's right.
When you get that alert, that's it. So that's the reason for the subscription. So you could go back in time and check what it has seen before.
I hope that helps, Shazhad. And if anyone else has any suggestions for smart doorbells, and even maybe not so smart, I often think, is there an alternative option out there that can do similar?
Just an intercom would be cool. A nice, easy one to install. I mean, when I hear the doorbell in here, because I've got a smart speaker in here, if I hear the doorbell, I simply say, Lady A, talk to the front door. And I just say, hello, who is it? Put it in the porch or whatever.
That's possibly the best feature of the whole thing. The fact you can use the Amazon Echo, you don't need one with a screen to do this. You can just talk to the front door, or talk to however you've labeled it. Talk to the front door, and it will immediately start a conversation with the person at the door. And it's quicker because it's not requiring the camera, so it loads up pretty quick. And then to end, you just say, Lady A, hang up, and that's it. Yep. Just make sure if you're going to speak about the person at the door, make sure you've hung up first. Make sure you've heard that boop boop before you move on, because there's been a few close calls around here. Thank God they've gone. Yeah. Oh, not them again. And that's usually my wife talking about me.
Yes.
Right, let's move on, and let's go to Graham, who wants to help me out with my HP printer problems.
Hi, Stephen. I found for you how to scan using the HP Smart app on your mobile phone. It's very simple. On the scan page, where it says, I think it says devices, you can select whether it's from the camera on your mobile phone, or you can select to scan from the printer, scanner, copier itself by just pressing one button on your mobile phone. It's in the bottom left-hand corner, and it's very simple. Okay, thank you very much.
Graham, I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. I'm going to check that out, and that will hopefully make life a little bit easier. I mean, I managed to get the scanner working finally with
did
Windows.
You?
Yeah, but the only way I could get it to work was to plug it in via USB, and the problem there is that it disables all of, I don't know why, but it disables all of the AirPrint and the wireless printing functionalities. I don't know really why that is.
No, doesn't make any sense. You haven't fixed it at all.
No, I've just created a whole new set of problems for myself. Yeah, I mean, it does kind of make you want to go back to the days. I remember the old flatbed scanners and
yeah, that's right.
It does for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
I miss those days.
Let's just take a minute to reminisce then.
Let's take a moment for scanners.
Oh, that's nice. Yes, 5 minutes to scan a grayscale A4 page. Yeah, it was
I used
great.
to love the way it would warm up. You know, the ooh, and it would start moving up. You know, and you'd be like, oh, it's going to catch it now. It's going to catch any second. It would,
yeah.
Oh, I like that.
And then you accidentally open it up and burn out
Blind
your retinas.
yourself,
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. Thank you, Graham. Jim's up next.
Hey, Stephen and Shaun. What's going on, gentlemen? And I do use that term loosely. It's Jim in Wisconsin, or should I say Shaun, Scott, Stephen Priest, whatever your last names are. You guys use your last names a lot. I don't. Is that a British thing? Maybe it is.
Yes.
I don't know. We don't do that here in the U.S. Like, we don't walk up, hey, Tom Cruise, how are you today? Like, but you guys use each other's last names a lot. But hey, really appreciate your show. You guys do awesome stuff. Really appreciate the daily podcast. Lots of awesome information. So thank you for all that you do.
Thanks, Jim.
I am sending in a question here. A while back, one of you were talking about using Alt-Space and Alt-T for Copilot. That's cool and all. My question is, how the heck do you maximize the window? I've thought about setting up Copilot with Alt-Space because that's a really cool keyboard combination. I want to bring up Copilot, Alt-Space, boom, it's there. That's awesome. But then you can't maximize the window. Maybe you're using that little rodent thing. I don't know. I'm a keyboard-only user. I don't use the little rodent thing. But maybe that's how you're doing it. That's the only way I can think about, because Alt-Space, like, a lot of times you need to maximize. And don't tell me you don't ever need to maximize a window, because sometimes you do need to maximize a window. Alt-Space X, it works really well. But if Alt-Space is intercepted by Copilot, how are you maximizing a window? This is what keeps me up at night. This is what keeps me curious. And so I'm sending in this question to hopefully get a resolution to my dilemma. Thanks a lot for all that you do. Keep up the great work, guys.
Thank you, Jim. And yes, we do like to say our full names a lot. I don't know why. My whole life, I've been known by my friends, and not my family so much, but my friends. Everyone would call me Stephen Scott all the time. And it's partly because I had a lot of friends who were also called Stephen. There's a lot of Stevens in my life.
Yes,
a lot of Stevens around. So everyone was named by, full name. So at least we knew who we were talking about.
I was just saying it because I thought it annoyed you. I'm kind of disappointed now.
Yeah,
that's our 10-year relationship. Just it's a sham.
It's a whole thing. Yeah, you just learned this, have you? Thank you, Shaun.
Jim, hello. Get ready. I'm going to blow your mind. It's one of those who knew moments, because you're absolutely right. Alt-Space takes you to the, I don't even know what they call it, system menu of a window with maximize, minimize, or close, or move to move a window about. But if you're not using Alt-Space, I simply use, and this is what I use anyway, is Windows key and up arrow. And it will maximize your window. Windows key and down arrow will, well, firstly, take it down to its original size. And if you press it again, it will put it in the taskbar and minimize it. So that's your way around that, is the Windows key and the up and down cursor keys.
Yeah. And it's interesting if you're, and I don't know if you are, Jim, but if you use Lisi, as I do, with JAWS, it actually has a setting and it's default that it will maximize any window. No matter what the window is, it will always maximize all the windows out. And it's interesting you say, well, why would you want to? Or why, you expect an argument about why would you want to? And I get it. I mean, there's a lot of times you really do need that window maximized in order to navigate it properly. And I kind of like it anyway. I just like to have the window maximized. I'm with you. I don't use the rodent thing, as you call it.
Who does?
No. Not anymore. Not on a PC.
It is less important to me. I'm the same. When I was using the Mac, I couldn't, for the life of me, trying to maximize the windows was driving me crazy for the longest time. I think I found something that did it automatically as well, actually, if it was a third-party thing. But now that I'm not actually looking at the screen at all, it doesn't bother me. I remember looking at Sarah's laptop, and there would be, open a Internet Explorer back in the day, and it'd be in the bottom right corner, a tiny postage stamp, and she didn't care. It was like, maximize it. It's bugging me. But yeah, I don't care so much now, but it's almost habit for me. It's almost, I've got a little bit of an OCD about sort of the housekeeping on a computer, the folders and files, and even the windows, I do maximize them myself.
Yeah, but there are occasions where if you've got a certain window and it's not maximized, you're not going to get all the options available,
That's
like
true.
say even in the menu bar. So you need to maximize. I was in an application and I could not figure out why I was not getting all the menus. And I was like, oh, hang on, I wonder if this is maximized. So I did exactly that, Windows up arrow, and there was everything. And this is the thing. In fact, the funniest, I think I mentioned this story before, but when I had the PC, which was the same PC I've always used, the desktop PC, funny story about that, by the way, I'll tell you in a second. But I was on there and it was headless. There was nothing connected to it. No HDMI cable, nothing. And one app that just will not work in that situation is WhatsApp. The WhatsApp app on the PC will just not work.
Oh, yeah.
It needs to, for some reason, it needs to think there's a screen attached. So that's where the little HDMI dummy thing came in. So funny story about the PC, right? I'm sitting the other day and this window pops up on the screen. And it announces itself as HP Smart something or other. And so I alt-tabbed to it. Couldn't get JAWS to read it. Now, I know there's a way to do it. I'm sure someone's going to tell me how to do it. I'm sure it's really simple, but I don't know how to do it. So I, did what everyone else does and just, opened up Narrator. And found my way through this little dialogue box that popped up. And it says, your HP computer is now out of warranty and parts for repair are limited.
Oh.
Here's an alternative PC you might like. And then it proceeds to sell me on another computer. Like, this one's really cool, and it's got a bigger hard drive, and it's got more RAM, and it's got a better processor.
This computer's rubbish. It's
and
so
it's on
old.
sale. And I'm like, are you serious? You're selling me a computer on the computer? Wow.
Sorry, was that... I know you said it. That was HP, right?
It was.
Yeah. Okay. You don't have to say any more than that. Let's leave that where it is, but let's talk about the screen reader, how Narrator comes to the rescue quite often. Again, it's the different accessibility layers it's that these screen readers use. I would really like to know more about that. I don't understand it. I would love to talk to someone who does.
I feel that I'm going to get told probably very soon by Matt Ater over at Vespero that I'm doing it wrong, which is probably 100% true.
Absolutely. I've just learned the screen review, the object review, those navigation modes in NVDA. And I've been using it for years. And it's just, you know what? I'm going to take some time and actually learn this stuff. And it's incredibly helpful.
I just love the Narrator scan mode. I love when you go in there, you hit, caps lock and space bar, you go into scan mode or browse mode. It's always different, I think, depending on the screen reader. And, I can just arrow up and down, and it goes through all the options in that window. More often than not, the issue I have when I'm using JAWS is I get a dialog box that pops up and it'll say OK and cancel. I don't know what I'm saying OK or cancel to. End of the world? I don't know. Have I just erase your hard drive?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea what I'm hitting OK or cancel to. And of course I can hit insert B or caps lock B and it will read the contents of the entire dialog box. That's fine.
Yes.
But I would also just like to be able to arrow up or do something, and the Mac sense, you would just VO left and it would take you to the text.
And that
precedes the
functionality
buttons.
is absolutely there. It's just knowing what it is in the screen reader you're using. In NVDA, that would be hold down, in my case, the caps lock key and number 4 on the numpad. And that goes through the various objects in there. So if you're on the OK key, you go back and you get the text.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So, so Jules will have... wasn't it like the PC cursor, the Jules cursor, the virtual cursor on Jules?
There's a few
at
of
one
them,
point?
yeah.
I
think this is the problem. I think it's too intelligent.
Yeah.
For me. For me, Paul.
Or, you're not clever enough for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm no doubt at all how smart I am. I have absolutely no doubt. I do not sit here as an expert. I'm telling you that now.
Who reads manuals?
Yeah, exactly. Manuals. Manual schmanual. Right, look, stick around. We're going to have more to come. This is Double Tap.
This is Double Tap. We'll be right back.
Hey, Shaun, we've got a newsletter.
Letter with news from Double Tap?
Yes, a letter of news, which I think you need to read, my friend, to keep up to date with what is going on.
I know, I do need to find out what's going on, and this is a great way to do it.
Well, it is, because in the newsletter, you're going to get access to all of our stories, all of our coverage of all the big tech news stories, but also all of the conversations, the interviews we've been having, and even looking back at some great archival content as well, because we've been doing this for a little while.
A long time, yes, and even some exclusive content just for the newsletter subscribers.
That's right, and if you're a keen listener to Double Tap on podcast and YouTube, you might even find some exclusive codes in there as well for your shopping delights. It's not just going to be Stephen that's buying things around here, you know. Check out our newsletter. You can subscribe to it right now by going to doubletaponair.com/subscribe.
That's doubletaponair.com/subscribe.
Double Tap thanks Pneuma Solutions for supporting this podcast and for their continued commitment to digital accessibility. Pneuma Solutions is behind some of the most powerful accessibility tools out there, all designed by blind developers who understand the real-world challenges of inaccessible tech. Whether it's Remote Incident Manager, or RIM, which lets you give or receive fully accessible remote tech support across PC and Mac, or Scribe, which turns inaccessible meeting documents into screen reader-friendly files instantly, Pneuma is solving real problems with smart, usable tools. They're not just building the products, they're building independence to go along with them. At Pneuma, they believe access to information is a right, not a privilege, and that is why we're excited to celebrate our partnership with a special offer just for the Double Tap community. Use code DT20 for $20 off any new purchase or the first billing cycle of a subscription. And they're giving away 10 free community support subscriptions for Remote Incident Manager and 10 Scribe for Documents subscriptions as well. You can experience seamless tech support and real-time document remediation completely accessibly. Subscribe to our newsletter at doubletaponair.com/subscribe for your chance to win and stay up to date with everything they're working on.
This is Double Tap. Now, back to the show.
Right, let's get back to the inbox, and we're going to get a comment here about our recent interview with the team at OrCam.
It was fantastic to hear Corinne from OrCam on the show, but we all deserve a little more by way of an explanation of what happened to make OrCam leave, then suddenly return to the business of products for blind people. Your comment about radio silence was spot on. It's disingenuous for them to imply that some third-party article from somewhere said they were out of the business of products for blind and visually impaired people, but now suddenly they never really were out of that business. I can understand if they needed to restructure, and I approve of their new model in theory. Companies have been working through distributors for a long time, but I can't just go back to work tomorrow and start recommending them again. It's going to take a little more explanation of what happened, a little more of the truth, or at least something that sounds slightly plausible, and some time to earn back a lot of people's trust. Sincerely, an assistive technology specialist.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to say the bit that I don't think the team at OrCam would say here. I think that a lot of this information that was coming out was actually misinformation. There was a lot of stuff being spread. Now, whether or not it was coming from someone who worked at the company or someone who just had an axe to grind, there was a lot of layoffs around that time at OrCam. And when that story came out, I think that OrCam made a mistake. Maybe they just weren't ready for it. Maybe they didn't know how to respond for the best, but I don't think they did respond particularly well because they didn't respond at all.
That's never the right response.
No,
to
they
go
were
silent.
silent.
Yeah. And to be fair, I think we can't say, you know, that they lied here. I don't think we can say that because there's no proof that
Who lied?
Or who? Yeah, that's
No,
right.
but I'm asking you who lied. I'm not suggesting anyone lied. I'm saying I think what's happened is there's been misinformation here, not from OrCam. I want to be clear on this. I'm talking about the articles that came out, the stories that were coming out saying that they were out of that business, because it didn't appear as if the information I was getting on the side that I wasn't able to broadcast to you because I couldn't verify any of it.
Yes.
And that was a big issue for us. We know other podcasts and shows were jumping up and down saying, oh no, we've got the answer. But we couldn't verify any of that. There was no one from OrCam was clarifying this. And look, we'll have a muck around and a carry on like anyone else. But you know, when it comes to these stories and there's reputations at stake, we've got to be careful here. You know, because this information that was coming out, as far as we were concerned, was accurate at the time. It was reported. So we reported it. But actually, the follow-up, we couldn't get any response to that follow-up. And we were getting people getting in touch from us from third-party suppliers and distributors saying, actually, no, OrCam aren't out of this game at all. In fact, they are very much still in the game, but they've moved to this distributor model. So no longer selling direct to the public, they're selling to business. And then the business, like, you know, you would go to your local supplier of assistive aids and you would buy from there. So I don't think, just to be very clear, I don't think they ever really came out of that market and then came back in.
Yes.
I think they just moved to that market and didn't articulate it very well. And look, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm not speaking for anybody, right? Because I know we hate politics and we all don't want to get into it. But, you know, OrCam is an Israeli company. And at the time, a lot of Israeli businesses were having, and still are, having a lot of issues and a lot of challenges, which I don't fully understand. I get what's going on in the world, of course I do. But, you know, the point is that there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, I think, which was causing problems.
Yeah.
And let's leave it at that, right? Because beyond that, I don't want to speculate beyond that. But I think that that's what I've been reading between the lines of what's been going on. So I think when you add it all up, it was a bit of a cluster. But I think what OrCam should have done is at the very least confirmed that they were moving to a third-party distribution model. Because that in itself is not a bad story.
No,
that's not a
at
bad
all.
deal. I mean, that's fine. Okay, whatever. If they just come out and said that. But I think it lends some credibility to the theory that it was a bit of a mess inside OrCam. A lot of change, a lot of things going on, loads of staff leaving. It's maybe just been chaos. And look, I've worked in organizations where this kind of thing has happened before.
Yep.
And in those times, even though you're talking about big organizations and they've got marketing teams and they've got PR people and all that stuff, even then, the message is not clear. No one knows what the message is, and things get lost. And, you know, staff don't speak. No one speaks. Everyone's terrified to open their mouth and say the wrong thing, especially if you're talking politics. No one wants to get into that. So, you know, it's a very difficult time, and I think it was a difficult time for them. But the key thing is they are still very much in the market. They're just selling via distributor. So I think they've made a mess in terms of the messaging. And I think reaching out to us and coming on the show has been a good show of faith for me. I think that's really good.
Yep, and they didn't shy away from the questions.
No, they were happy to. What they could answer, they answered.
Yeah. The point I wanted to make, though, when I said about, you know, let's not say anyone's lying, I wasn't referring to you. I was referring to the email there saying until they tell the truth. And look, I don't think that's the case. I think the case is, that, you know, it was mishandled in various stages. So completely. I think that's the most you can accuse them of.
Yeah. But still very much in the game. I mean, look, we can argue the toss. I mean, I find it quite amusing that we kind of buried the company and then came... It was like one of those really awkward moments where you find out that the person you thought you were burying at a funeral turned out to be very much alive and well, and you know, walks into the room and says, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, "Did we not bury you yesterday?" And everyone was saying how much they didn't really like you in the first place. Oh dear, I need to retract all that. Because I was saying at the time, well, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, if OrCam goes away, is it a huge surprise? I mean, you know, AI's taken over. So I kind of had to eat my words a little bit on that one. But
no, that hasn't changed, though. They're still under immense pressure, especially now we're seeing, you know, with the Google glasses and the Gemini AI, we're still seeing that immense pressure. But as we said at the time, you know, the standalone aspect where no data connection is needed to process any of this stuff is still the selling point here.
That's
You're
a
paying
huge
a price
selling point
for
for
it.
them. Yeah, well, yeah, you really are. But that is, and it is a huge price point. That's a concern. That is a big concern. And actually on that point, I want to get Kay's message in here.
Hello. When you talk to people who are selling things, could you ask how much they cost? Or did I go to sleep? How much are the OrCam devices that were discussed on your show? I would like to make a comment about the RealSam Pocket. What an expensive device. Give or take, it's about double the price of the blind shell, and it can do half as much. For what it can't do, I would think that it would cost less than any of the blind shell models. I can see that it would be very valuable for a lot of people, but the price is ridiculous. Kay.
Thanks, Kay. No, I have to say, funny you mentioned RealSam. We are going to be speaking to them quite soon. So if you've got questions that you want answered, then please do get in touch, and we will put them to the guys at RealSam. I haven't spoken to them for a while. I kind of kind of forgot they were there, to be perfectly honest. As
That's
terrible as that
awful,
sounds.
Stephen Scott.
Isn't it? But it's
Like
true.
Burning bridges. Yeah, I remember trying this out when it was first released. It seems like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was cool because it was like carrying around a smart speaker in your pocket. You just spoke to it. And yeah, it was cool. But where we are today, again, like the OrCam, it feels like, is there a place for this? We'll find out.
I think it's like the argument for the blind shell. You could always make the argument, well, why would you want that? Why would you want a candy bar style phone that's got those buttons on it and stuff? But there is a market for these devices.
For that reason, though, because it's got those buttons, that is its unique selling point. What is it with the RealSam device?
And I think the thing with, I can't speak to the later devices, but the thing that was quite cool about it was like an Amazon Echo in your pocket, and you could summon your talking books, you could summon newspapers, you could, get content, podcasts, you just talk to this thing. And people might say, well, I could do that on my Lady A or whatever, but you can, but in the house, yes. But what happens when you leave the house and, you go to a hotel, for example, although I know you've come up with a rather incredible workaround for that. But see previous episodes for notes.
Yes, I can't remember who came up with that, but it was genius.
Yeah. Basically, you just hook up to your phone, right, before you leave, and then you use your phone as the internet connection. But, I just think there's definitely a market for this kind of thing. I think there's a lot of us, and it's not just a blind thing. It could just be a comfort thing, where some of us just like to be within a bubble when we're using certain things. It's like if I'm using a certain device, I'll feel comfortable using that device because I know it and I'm used to its way of working, and I know when I press that button, this happens. And I think that's probably an element of that with a lot of people with technology. If they're going to get into it, they kind of like to be within a little walled garden. I don't mean like an iPhone. I don't mean like that. I just mean in the sense of, Victor Reader's stream is a good example of it. Very quickly you get used to it. You start to get comfortable in that environment. You know how to get to your podcasts. You know how to get to things. So I think a lot of people do like that. It's just where it fits in. I don't know. But we're going to speak, as I say, we'll be speaking to the guys soon, and we'll get some answers.
And OrCam prices, did we not mention any? I
don't
think we
no,
did.
And it's tricky, and this is becoming trickier because I do like to occasionally mention prices of products, but it is getting harder because prices change all the time. Different currencies changing those prices, and of course, with tariffs at the moment, prices are changing on some products. Actually, they're changing wildly. So I'm hesitant to mention prices on the show at the moment. What we will do, though, is in the show notes, we can definitely point you to the website. Bear in mind, though, depending on where you are in the world, the price will be different, or the price will be, obviously in your currency, it'll be different. So Canadian dollars versus US dollars versus UK pounds versus Australian dollars, whatever it might be, the price is going to be all over the shop. So, and the thing is, as soon as I could sit here and rhyme off all the prices, but then next week they may change. So I'd much rather, because I've seen it in the last couple of years. I've seen the Envision glasses drop in price. I've seen the, what was the thing I saw the other day that surprised me? I think it was the ARX Vision, which I think when it first came out was over £1,200.
Yes, it was.
And it's right down in price. So I'm hesitant to mention prices. I would rather help you guys get to the place to find the current price, because it will change. And of course, some people listen to this show. You might be listening to this episode in a few months, and then the price has dramatically changed again, so it's useless information. We can certainly give you a guide price if that helps, but
we'll try to ask usually. But,
Okay, let's move on to Peter. Thank you for that, Kay. Let's go to Peter.
Hi guys. In yesterday's episode, you spurred us to come up with new questions. There was no way for me to skip this challenge. So my question is, do you or anyone in your audience know about an AI audio dubbing that is accessible more or less with screen readers? I've tried quite a bit recently, but without real success. I was experimenting with Veed.io, Maestra, Speechify, 11 Labs, and Capwing audio dubbing. The latter worked at a very basic level, producing a very bad quality translation, with all numbers pronounced in a Slavic language, perhaps Czech, and the user interface was terrible with JAWS. For, as myself, I don't mind listening to contents in English, but most of the Hungarian blind community seem to lack the language skills required for that. Or seems to lack language skills. Yeah, language skills. I'm not an Olympic champion either. But anyway, I was searching for something that would dub an English-speaking video or audio file to Hungarian. In this procedure, theoretically, the original voices are cloned. The content is translated and made pronounced by the cloned voice. If I remember well from one of the old Mosen at Large episodes, Apple Podcast has this feature, at least between some languages. I couldn't find a solution, though, to make English material to be translated to Hungarian. Thanks in advance for any advice from you or your audience. Peter from Budapest in Hungary.
Yeah, well, I am way out of my depth on this one.
Yeah, me too. This is definitely one we're going to throw back to our listeners. I'm interested in the Apple Podcasts have this feature. I haven't seen that one. I would think, I mean, just off the top of my head, I immediately jumped to something like 11 Labs, right? Which would do something like this, translating audio and cloning the voice as well at the same time, but changing the language. But I haven't really played with 11 Labs. And I don't know the answer to this one.
Yeah, we'll put that out there, and hopefully we get an answer for that for you. Appreciate it, though. Charles has been in touch.
Hello, Double Tappers. Charles here from Ohio with a quick Double Tap tech tip. We've been hearing Shaun and Stephen talk on the podcast recently about assigning voiceover gestures, and we've also been hearing recently some conversation about the back scrub gesture, that gesture where you move your two fingers in some version of a back and forth scrubbing type motion. I had the hardest time figuring out that scrub. And I know it's a problem for other people too, especially if you have some tremors or other types of motor impairments. So I went into Accessibility, VoiceOver, Commands, Touch Gestures, and reassigned that scrub to a 2-finger swipe left. You can basically remap almost every voiceover gesture in there. That settings section, is divided into headings that say something like 1-finger tap, 2-finger tap, 1-finger swipe, 3-finger swipe, whatever it is. And then under those headings, you have something like 1-finger single tap, 1-finger double tap, 1-finger triple tap, 2-finger single, 2-finger double, et cetera, all the way down the page. And it is a very nice interface. It will tell you if you try to assign a gesture to something that already is using that gesture, and it will ask you if you want to override. It's very clear about which gestures are in use and what they do. And I think personally, reassigning that scrub to just a 2-finger flick left and a couple of other minor things has really improved my iPhone usage the last couple of years. I'm very happy with the ability to reassign gestures like that. So I hope this helps somebody else too. Have a great day, everybody.
Oh, thank you, Charles. And I like the old double tap.
That's very good. Yes,
good.
Please don't do that again. That blasts my ears out.
What, that?
That's better. No, okay, thanks. It's great. Customizing gestures is underused, I think, on the iPhone, and for exactly that reason. And, I say to someone the other day, scrubbing is easy. And then I got stuck on a page. I can't even remember where it was. I was scrubbing away and it wasn't moving. It was driving me crazy. So, yeah, absolutely. Check out, that's in Settings, Accessibility, VoiceOver, and Commands. Go in there and check that out. It's really useful. I use the 2-finger swipe left and right to actually jump to previous or next headings. I set someone up the other day so it changes the rotor, so they don't have to do the rotor option.
Ooh.
They can just 2-finger swipe left or right instead. So it's definitely a great thing to get into.
Yeah, I like that. Kind of like the handwriting mode I think about, because when I do the scrub, I always think I'm doing a backwards N. That's always how I think about it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yep. I do sorry, I had to think about that. I do a lightning bolt. Yes.
I thought I saw a flash on the screen. Yeah. It's just your head is exploding with that knowledge.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that's how I think about it. And it's funny, it does make me think of that handwriting mode, which I don't think a lot of people either know about or use.
I haven't used that since it was introduced, and I was just playing around with it. But actually, for entering a PIN on the unlock screen, there was a time where the touchscreen wasn't working for that. I couldn't actually press any of the buttons, but the handwriting did. It was the only way I could log in. So, yeah.
Well, for finding apps on the home screen, it's just brilliant. You just go into search, go into Spotlight, and then you just enter handwriting mode, and you just start, The only thing is, there were certain letters I thought, I used to think to myself, how am I going to do an I? Couldn't figure out how to do an I, and how would it not know it was an L? And I was trying to do the dot very quickly at the top. I was like properly drawing.
Little flick at the end. Yes. Cross your T's, dot your I's.
Yep.
Yes.
But no, it's just a great little features in there which have been around.
Was it the rotor option I changed? Sorry, I'm second guessing myself now. A rotor option. I can't remember.
What, for the scrub?
Customizing commands. Sorry, I'm still 2 minutes back in the conversation.
This is like the other day when you answered a question before I even asked it because we had some glitch.
That was a glitch. That wasn't me having a moment, having a senior moment.
Well, it was some moment if you were answering questions before I even asked them. That's impressive.
That was that was an internet thing. Thanks for the people that let us know.
Yeah, I think it was Charles that actually told us. Okay, let's go to Scott.
Here's how you can read all your letters. Try Vispero's OpenBook. They also sell a Pearl camera, but you can use any camera or scanner. The scanners are much slower though. Then you can also save docs into any format or print to PDF. From Scott Phillips in Springfield, Missouri.
Thank you very much, Scott. I've never used OpenBook before.
Springfield,
yeah. The Simpsons, yeah.
Thank you.
Is that where Simpsons started? I don't think it is Springfield, Missouri, is it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. No, I don't know.
We can talk to Gemini later and we'll get
Is
the answer to that.
OpenBook and the Pearl camera, well, specifically, I suppose I'm thinking about the Pearl camera. Now, talking about what we've talked about previously with OrCam and the RealSam device, is that still relevant?
Well, I don't think it's probably used much. I mean, people who've got one will. I mean, I've got one, and it is a really nice little device. I was sent one on loan a while ago. Okay. Yeah, it's in the post, guys. Honest, it's in the post.
Shh.
But yeah.
No wonder we don't get anything.
I put it in the post 5 years ago. What, it hasn't got to you yet? Wow. What happened there?
Second class. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. The postal service is rubbish, isn't it? So, I remember getting it and I used it I was telling you, I think a couple of weeks back I was using it because it was the only way I could really get to scan my documents. What I love is it's got the built-in light. So, even because I tend to have my lights off in the room. And I was thinking, do I have to always turn my lights on to do this? Because it's one of those ones, if you don't know the Pearl camera, it's like a little camera on an arm, which, it just has a little stand. So the whole thing folds up very neatly into this little bag it comes with, and you could pop it in your bag and take it with you wherever you're going. You could easily take it to college or take it somewhere if you had to school or carry it around school. But yeah, you can, it basically just all folds open and then clicks into place, and you have a camera that's kind of overhead, and there's a little guide so you can put the paper in. And it just sits in there, and then it'll scan the picture, turns the light on if it needs it, and it scans it right into JAWS. And it's absolutely glorious. Works really, really well. And I'm using it to read my mail, to be honest.
I think that does sound really good.
I take
it all back. That does sound good.
Yeah, really, really nice. I mean, not the cheapest solution. Again, prices may vary. It's changed a lot over the years. But, ultimately.
Hundreds or thousands?
Oh, hundreds, but still hundreds.
Oh, just hundreds.
Just hundreds, yeah.
Tens, hundreds, or thousands.
And again, I don't know how long term or how much support long term it'll get, because I know when I tried the ARM version of Windows with JAWS, it didn't seem to appear or be able to work. That was via the Mac, so I haven't tried it on a Copilot PC that's running ARM processors, but it's not looking great. Because it did show up. It did show up as a device, but it wouldn't work, and JAWS didn't see it. And that's the great thing. When you plug it into a PC, the camera instantly is recognized by JAWS, and when you go into OCR mode, it just gets it. It just knows when you do your O and then A to acquire, it'll immediately bring it up and say, there it is. It's got the camera. Do you want to scan? Yeah, it doesn't use exact words, but it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, I know people still use Kurzweil 1000. It just works.
Before we go, one more from Felix.
Hello, Double Tappers. This is Felix once again, and I need a bit of some help or advice. So, I'm looking for a free video editor that is also accessible with NVDA or JAWS. Now, I have a video which I recorded in Zoom, and I'm noticing that when I import it into Reaper, I'm able to edit really nice and quick with no problems. However, with the little bit of vision I do have, I'm able to tell that it's somehow breaking the video, meaning that at some point I'm having patches of green in my video rather than it continuing nice and smoothly. My question would first be, does anyone know why this would be, first and foremost? And secondly, are there any free alternatives I can use? I am trying Clipchamp, which is annoying because I don't really want to have to learn on the job, but I guess I have no choice based on what I've been asked to do. So the reason why I'm looking for a free alternative is because the things I'm trying to do are basically not for any employer. So basically, I'm not being paid for this. It's mainly for, some of it's for my own personal video creative on social media, but also for a radio station where, although we are visually impaired, or mainly a visually impaired team, we're kind of having to be forced to pick up the listenership and stuff like that. We kind of need to kind of move towards video like everyone else is doing. So this is why I'm having to do this. I have edited someone else's video, and they recorded their video on a standard video camera, and that was fine. So I don't know if there's an issue with Zoom itself with the encoding or something else. So my question is, first and foremost, does anyone know why I may be getting patches in my video, i.e. the green screen? And B, are there any free and fully accessible video editing tools for Windows? Thanks, guys. Good show as always. Catch up with you guys soon.
Thanks, Felix. I guess I'm taking this one.
Yes, you are.
So in terms of the green, now that can either be a fault in the video. Maybe it's just not recorded very well, or there's been poor quality at some point in the video. That can happen in Zoom. And in the way it's interpreting that in the editor can be that it's losing frames, in which case it's replacing it with green. One thing to do in Zoom is, if you're recording in Zoom, there is a setting which is optimized for third-party editor. And it does do a little bit of work in the background, not a huge amount, but it does do a little bit of work in the background to make sure that it's more prepared for dealing with a video editor once you take those files back out and into an editor. In terms of the editor options you've got, so you do have Windows Clipchamp, which is actually, I mean, it's... My experience of it has been pretty good, but the issue I faced was that the processor on my computer wasn't very good. So certainly not for that kind of job. I'm using Macs all the time, and they're fairly high power machines. So when I'm doing video editing on a Mac, I'm if it was a MacBook Air, for example, it might not be as good. It may struggle or it may have challenges. Although that is, kind of going away. But if you think back to the Intel days, definitely it was more challenging. So, comparing that to, say, a PC running Intel or AMD processors, you might, mileage may vary in terms of how much you can do that's going to be reliable and good quality at the end. And certainly the time it takes to render, because that's the key thing with a video editor, is you're always rendering your file. So a lot of work going on in the background to basically create that picture and make it all look good and then be able to deliver that as a file. Clipchamp is good. It has there's a lot of resources online. Microsoft have a ton of resources on how to use it with Narrator. And they do have information about other screen readers too. It's the only time I've seen that, really. And I think that's brilliant. And so I'd point you there. And that's free. That is a free option. And you're going to have to learn it, as you say, on the go. The only other option you've got that I would say is low cost, because I think it's about $60 or so, is Reaper. Now, we've been playing with the Reaper, and we've been using it now for the show and doing various things with it. And I'm going to dive in more with video editing on it, because it is actually quite powerful on the video editing front, and it's all very accessible. So more to come on that, Felix. But Clipchamp, I think, is your best bet for now. And of course, the great thing with Reaper is it's cross-platform, right? It's on Mac, it's on Windows as well. So listen, we could talk all day on this, but we're out of time. So we're going to let you go, Shaun. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You
and
too.
We will be back on Monday with plenty more conversation and a great special offer if you've signed up to the newsletter. You definitely want to do that. Newsletter launches next week. We'll catch you then. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.